What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking the divisive question: should you be drafting a quarterback early this 2024 fantasy football season? What that means and why. So sit back, relax, enjoy. If you do, hit that like button, subscribe. Give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear it in the comment section. Which camp are you in? Team early quarterback or no, and why? Along with any other questions you guys might have, we'll do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get right into it. We've got the 2024 draft rankings here pulled up via fantasypros. And I feel like there's not much more introduction that needs to go into this. We're simply talking the topic quarterback early, yes or no, when it comes to fantasy football. So let's immediately here scroll down to where the first quarterback is currently being ranked by fantasy pros analysts. On average, Josh Allen here, that is the name to know, 17th overall. He comes in as the quarterback one. Now, I will say, let me preface this by, we're not going to be doing a huge deep dive on our quarterback rankings from quarterback 1 to quarterback 20. We're going to do that in a future video when we're talking specifically rankings and tiers. We're going to touch upon that because it does have to be mentioned, but it won't be an in-detailed breakdown of that. If you want to see that, we're going to be releasing an updated rankings quarterbacks video here in the near future, so keep an eye out for that. But here, we're going to talk about the quarterbacks, the players that they're being drafted around, other quarterbacks that are, close to their rankings and where they might be drafted, differences in ADPs, what you're potentially giving up by drafting an early round quarterback, and, at the end of the day, answering the question, is it worth it? So we're also going to take a look at a mock draft that I've simulated through a couple of rounds so you can see where these quarterbacks were drafted and compare it. But yeah, Josh Allen comes in as the quarterback one. So, regardless of who you have as your quarterback one, this is probably right around the range of where they come in around your rankings, around most rankings, close to the end of the top 20 names in fantasy football. So what does that translate to? Well, depending on the size of your leagues, typically that's going to be a end of the second round selection for Josh Allen, or pencil in for your quarterback one, whoever that might be. And, what that means is you're essentially passing up on a couple of other names here. So let's take a look at, maybe 4 names before, 4 names after Josh Allen, because you never know how a draft might play out. Some players might get shuffled, some might go a little bit earlier, some might go a little bit later. But before Josh Allen, these rankings have Olave, Devontae Adams, Saquon Barkley, and Jonathan Taylor. After Josh Allen, 18th overall, Drake London, then Michael Pittman, Marvin Harrison, Ayuk, Etienne, and might as well just take it all the way to Jalen Hurts, who is the quarterback 2 at 23 overall. So what that tells you is that there is a little bit gap in between quarterbacks being selected, typically, 5, 6 picks. And more often than not, Jalen Hurts is that second quarterback being selected. He is, in my current rankings, a tier 1 quarterback. I also happen to have Patrick Mahomes as a tier 1 quarterback, but I feel like that's not a huge shock to anybody. The normal rankings that you see for quarterback, probably, I would venture a guess, is Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, then Patrick Mahomes, and that rounds out your tier 1 list. So in this scenario, let's also see where Patrick Mahomes comes in. He actually comes in as the quarterback 4, one behind Lamar Jackson, who comes in as the quarterback 3. They are 30th and 31st overall, respectively. So the names between Hurts and those other quarterbacks: Mike Evans, Jalen Waddle, Kelsey, Laporta, Nico Collins, DJ Moore. A couple names after Patrick Mahomes: Kyron Williams, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, Rachaad White, Pacheco, just to name a few of these guys. So the first thing that stands out here to me, and that I always like to point out, is, well, what really is the separation between these tier 1 quarterbacks? Like, are you going to be that much better if you select Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts than a Patrick Mahomes? I would say no, honestly. Typically, all those tier 1 guys are viewed in a similar-ish fashion. They're all like the matchup proof guys that they're set and forget. And if we're looking at it from specifically 2024, Josh Allen, you could argue, has had a decrease in terms of talent around him. No more Stephon Diggs, no more Gabe Davis. Like, you've got Dalton Kincaid. You drafted Keon Coleman, but he's a rookie, right? You added Curtis Samuel, kind of that veteran, but he's not going to be a Stephon Diggs replacement. So I would say supporting cast-wise for Josh Allen, it's a little bit worse. For Jalen Hurts, he's a guy that's, propped up because of his rushing upside. Similar kind of to Josh Allen, high rushing touchdown upside, high rushing yardage upside. Same with Lamar Jackson. Patrick Mahomes, he's your prototypical, just period, best quarterback in the NFL. Biggest passing yardage, passing touchdown upside out of all the names that we've mentioned. Out of those guys, he's, I would argue, had the best revamp of his offense, improvement. You have added a Marquise Brown. You've added a Xavier Worthy. Rashee Rice is only going to get better. And all those additions are going to help out Travis Kelce. He's not going to have to carry the load as much. You've got a good offensive line. You've got Andy Reid there. So I think Patrick Mahomes, even though he doesn't present the same rushing yardage upside as some of these other names, passing-wise, he is going to make up for it. And at the end of the day, at the end of the season, Mahomes, the separation won't be all that much. And in fact, if you want to be honest about it, this is where we can kind of talk about some of the other tiers. The other quarterbacks after Patrick Mahomes, right? And Anthony Richardson, a CJ Stroud, who I prefer because we've seen what he can do. He's a great athlete as well. He's got a stacked offense. He comes in 50th overall. So quarterback 6, basically 20 spots lower than a Patrick Mahomes. So let's see kind of what this translates to in a mock draft scenario. So here, this is a 12-teamer, full PPR. We were drafting 4th overall. That doesn't really matter. Don't pay too much attention to the guys that were being drafted other than the quarterback position, right? Because here, Josh Allen was the first quarterback selected, and that is coinciding with the rankings. He comes in at the 211 spot, second to last pick in the second round. So he was right around guys like Kyren Williams, Chris Olave, Ayuk, Waddle, A-Chain, Rashad White, Alvin Kamara. And then let's count the picks because Jalen Hurts also goes in the third round. But later in the third round, picks of separation between Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. So Ayuk, 1, Waddle, 2, Pittman, 3, A-Chain, 4, Rashad White, 5, Jacob, 6, Kamara, 7, Debo, 8. So 8 picks later, Jalen Hurts is being selected. And that's almost a full round, right? This is a 12-team league, so not quite. And then we've got another quarterback selected. Here it's Travis Kelce, Mike Evans, Derrick Henry, Sam Laporta, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes goes a full round later than Josh Allen, which I think this is one of the problems with selecting a quarterback early this year. I said it last year. I'll say it again. Right now, I'm living by this strategy. If you want to select a quarterback early, a tier 1 quarterback early, okay, fine. I get it. You want to have the huge quarterback advantage at that position, but I beg you to do this. Just don't be the first person to select that first top tier quarterback. So what do I mean by that? Basically, okay, you're saying you're going to select one of Allen, Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, or maybe even Lamar Jackson. Okay, just why not select Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes? Because what you're doing here is you're allowing yourself to get better value on other players. Here, if you wanted to select Josh Allen, the player that selected Jalen Hurts, you would have had to do it at the middle of the second round. You would have passed up a guy like a Travis Etienne, for example. If you wanted to select Josh Allen here, the person that ended up getting Patrick Mahomes, you'd have had to skip on somebody like a Jonathan Taylor, as crazy as that sounds. I think this would be a pretty crazy reach if you selected him here. But the point being is you're getting, I would say, almost as good value at the quarterback position, still a difference maker, still a top tier guy, a full round later. In fact, you can probably do so a round and a half later because Patrick Mahomes this year is a little bit devalued because he kind of underperformed last year, but he's still an absolute stone cold killer. And again, if you have Lamar Jackson as a high end quarterback for fantasy because of what he can do because of his rushing upside, then okay, he's going like 2 rounds later than Josh Allen. Why would you not take advantage of that difference in ADP when the separation at the end of the year between the two guys won't be all that drastic? During that time, during those 2 rounds, what you can be doing is getting potentially 2 top 10 guys at the running back and wide receiver position, and that is extremely, extremely valuable. Because I will also add to this point of just if you're going to select a quarterback early on, just don't be the first one to do it because you're going to get better value later on. But let's not forget the fact that it's much easier. Everyone at the end of their draft says, okay, well, I'm just going to stream tight end. I'm going to stream quarterback. Nobody says I'm going to stream running back. I'm going to stream wide receiver. Hell no, that's not how that works. It is much, much easier to pick up a guy off of waivers at the quarterback position based on matchups than it is running backs and wide receivers because those benches for your league mates are going to be stacked to the gills with backups at the wide receiver position, especially at the running back position because there's also going to be injuries there, not as many injuries to the quarterbacks. And you only typically, if you get a high upside quarterback, there's not too many teams that have 2 quarterbacks on their rosters. So there's going to be names at the end of the draft, like still high upside guys. Let's look at the cheat sheet here. As far as quarterback is concerned, there's going to be guys potentially like a Jaden Daniels, a Jared Goff, a Caleb Williams, a Matthew Stafford, and Aaron Rodgers that are all available probably on waivers. And I think that speaks volumes to just to the better value surrounding some later round quarterbacks as opposed to necessarily, and this is truly what I believe, reaching on a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round. To me, that just doesn't make too much sense. On top of that, I think there's other guys here in this tier 2 category. Like CJ Stroud to me should not be ranked lower than Anthony Richardson. I think that's pretty ludicrous. Richardson has 2.5 games under his belt in the NFL so far. This is essentially his rookie season. I think he's going to rely too much on his legs. CJ Stroud, we know what he can do. Joe Burrow, another guy that I think has really good value. Kyler Murray, a guy when healthy, that's a perennial top 10 fantasy weapon. So to me, the values are much better there. You start looking at CJ Stroud. I mean, he's going to go let's look at the draft board again. He's going to go 3 rounds later, something like that. When we start talking about Dak Prescott, 4, 5 rounds later. So to me, what I'm basically hinting at, and this is what I firmly believe, to answer the question, black and white, should you select a quarterback early? No. The earliest that I would select a quarterback is probably the 4th round, and that is only if Patrick Mahomes is there, because that is how I have him ranked as a high upside guy that is being undervalued. And if I miss out on Allen, Jalen Hurts, and or Patrick Mahomes before the start of the 4th round, I am completely fine with that because I know I have many more options. I have the CJ Strouds, the Burrows, the Daks of the world. And then I can also stream the quarterback position. And every single time, the quarterback position is the position where you see guys coming out of nowhere and absolutely usurping their ADPs. Like Brock Purdy was a guy last year that was in that category. CJ Stroud was a guy last year. So to me, you've got a good situation here. Instead, focus on those money positions, running back, wide receiver, hit them hard, and then even if you completely punt on the quarterback position, you will be able to, based on matchups, find a quarterback that gets you close to 15 to 20 points week in and week out if they're playing a bad defense. So you're also going to have situations where waiver wire quarterbacks that were picked up end up being top 10 guys. So keep that in mind. And overall, my advice to you would be, do not be the person that selects a Josh Allen or whoever at the end of the second round. Wait on the quarterback position. Sometimes it's better to ignore those just plain old rankings that you see. Running back, wide receiver, hell, even tight end ahead of quarterback. Wait until the fourth round. If those tier one guys are not there, none of them at the fourth round, don't reach on another tier two guy. Continue to load up on the rest of your roster, and then maybe in the sixth round, reevaluate. And if there's a good value in those tier two quarterbacks, pull the trigger. If not, you're going to be okay with a Jared Goff later on, potentially Jaden Daniels and Aaron Rodgers in the final rounds. You're going to stack up on depth in case of injuries. You're going to have more firepower for trades, and you're going to figure it out. So that is my final kind of thought on the situation with the quarterbacks. Let me know if you guys agree. Hopefully, you enjoyed at least this breakdown, this look at it. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue tracking with us there. Again, let us hear in the comment section which side are you on, along with any other questions you guys might have. We'll do our best to answer them all. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.